Military expert Alexander Kovalenko reported an unusual turn of events in the Belgorod-Kharkiv area. According to him, the explosion of the Belgorod reservoir dam marked a moment when nature unexpectedly played on Ukraine's side. The positions of units of the 128th, 116th, 68th, and 136th Russian brigades located downstream are at risk of flooding. Also at risk are units of the 6th Russian Army, namely the 68th, 69th Division and the 44th Army Corps. As Kovalenko notes, the reservoir's water level is rapidly falling, and the Russian settlements of Bezlayudovka and Novaya Tavolzanka, as well as the Titovka neighborhood in Shebekino, are now at risk of flooding. However, the consequences would be far more widespread. Water from the reservoir has begun flowing into the Seversky Donets, leading to flooding in the temporarily occupied territories of Orgutsovo and Gatishche in the Kharkiv region. It was here that Russian troops concentrated their forces and equipment, including units of the 82nd Motorized Rifle Regiment and the 138th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade. Thus, the effects of nature actually played into the hands of Ukrainian forces. Enemy fortifications were threatened and logistics were disrupted. According to the expert, Russian units that attempted to expand their zone of control south of Gatishche now find themselves in a vulnerable position, with flooding turning their positions into a trap. A similar situation could arise in the Volchansk area, where flooding could complicate supply lines for Russian troops entrenched on the city's southern bank at the bakery and butter factories. Kovalenko recalled that on June 6, 2023, the Russians themselves blew up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station dam, causing a major environmental disaster in southern Ukraine. Now it seems history is repeating itself, only without the involvement of the Ukrainian army. Two can play this game. Social media commentators commented on Kovalenko's post. Media previously reported that a dam on a local river was in danger of collapsing. According to Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov, there is a risk that the enemy may attempt another attack and destruction of the hydraulic structure. About 1,000 people from nearby villages and districts of Belgorod are being evacuated. Local residents are being asked to temporarily relocate to accommodation centers set up in the city itself. Regional officials previously assured that there was no danger to people or infrastructure, but now the authorities' position has changed dramatically. Apparently, the threat of dam failure following the missile strikes is far greater than previously acknowledged. This rhetoric about complete control and no threat is a familiar tactic for the Kremlin and the regional officials under its control. Russians will only acknowledge the scale of a disaster when it becomes impossible to conceal it. Recall, Russia reported an alleged missile attack on the Belgorod reservoir. According to local propaganda channels, the dam was allegedly struck by Ukrainian forces using HIMARS systems. Russian telegram groups report that 3 missiles were fired at the hydraulic structure, damaging several buildings housing technical equipment, the lifting mechanisms of one of the locks, and the dam's crest.
A U.S. warship docked in Trinidad and Tobago's capital Sunday as the Trump administration boosts military pressure on neighboring Venezuela and its president Nicolas Maduro. According to Associated Press, the arrival of the USS Gravely, a guided missile destroyer, in the capital of the Caribbean nation is in addition to the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford, which is moving closer to Venezuela. Maduro criticized the movement of the carrier as an attempt by the U.S. government to fabricate a new eternal war against his country. Many people in Trinidad and Tobago criticized the warship's docking in town. On Sunday, a small group protested outside U.S. Embassy. So, we do not wish for war. But, if there is a military strike on Venezuela, if there's an attempt at regime change in any form or fashion, then I am saying that we the people will have to come out in Trinidad and Tobago in very, very large numbers, said David Abdullah, a former government senator and leader of the Movement for Social Justice Party. Abayo Jackson, an activist, said the sovereignty of the Caribbean countries is not for sale. Caribbean lives are not collateral damage, Jackson said. Peace, true peace, must never be bartered for power. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Maduro, without providing evidence, of being the leader of the organized crime gang Tren de Aragua. Government officials from the Twin Island nation and the U.S. said the massive warship will remain in Trinidad until Thursday so both countries can carry out training exercises. CARICOM, a regional trade bloc made up of 15 Caribbean countries, has called for dialogue to resolve disputes in the region. Trinidad and Tobago is a member of CARICOM, but Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has said the region is not a zone of peace, citing the number of murders and other violent crimes. The visit comes 1 week after the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago warned Americans to stay away from U.S. government facilities there.
So we do not wish war. But if there is a military strike on Venezuela, if there's an attempt at regime change in any form or fashion, then I am saying that we the people will have to come out in Trinidad and Tobago in very, very large numbers.
Caribbean sovereignty is not for sale. Caribbean lives are not collateral damage. And peace, true peace, must never be bartered for power.